I know, right? Um, what do people get? Well, okay. Are you a single mother?
Yes.
By definition, are you a single mother? Which means you get no help. I'm almost of the mind you're more of a co-parent.
By definition, no, I'm a co-parent.
Okay. So, do you think women are doing too much as far as like waving a flag that they generally don't actually have?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Why? Because I think a lot of women get help.
But why are they waving a flag that they know that they aren't actually a part of? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Um, like maybe they just don't want to admit they're getting help.
I don't. I mean, you know other women that are. So there's single mothers, then there are single women that have children.
Yes.
So the single women that have children that are the ones, thanking themselves on Father's Day and all that other stuff. Like, what is the, what's the motivate? I need inside information.
Okay.
What? Okay, proceed.
Okay. Yeah. So the whole women, like celebrating themselves on Father's Day. I've never heard that.
You've never.
No, swear.
Ever.
Ever.
You've never looked on social media? Like,
Well, I mean, I don't honestly like social media. I don't pay a lot of attention to half the stuff that's on there. Um, but no, like, why? Why would you celebrate Father's Day? You're not a father.
what?
I mean,
Well,
I understand that the point of you have the role, you have both roles. If you're honestly single, like if you were honestly doing it all by yourself. But why would you still celebrate yourself on Father's Day?
Well, me personally, I think it's a middle finger to the man who scorned them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at it in any other context, if you did that based off of, having, whatever relationship that you have with your children's fathers, what does that say about how you think about your grandfather? What does that say about how any male teacher that you had, or a coach, or an uncle, good men that were instrumental not only maybe in your life but other people's lives too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think these women are seeing past that. I think they're not seeing past their own anger. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To say, because otherwise, why would you?
Yeah.
Okay, my dad wasn't in my life or whatever, but that's still, there have to be good men somewhere along the line. Well, yeah. That you would say, I need to think this through before, but that's not it. They're really, I'm just like projecting. I'm just guessing that they're just assigning, because it's Father's Day, that they're looking at their child and thinking of the father of their child. So I'm not only not going to celebrate him, but I'm going to celebrate myself for his absence.
Okay. I think it's kind of stupid.
I think it's just disrespectful, because there have to be somebody that, even if you had a bad experience, like, wouldn't one of your girlfriends, you would look and be like, wow, you've really got a good, father to your kids. I mean, there has to be somebody where you wouldn't just say me on a day that is clearly not built for you. And the opposite is, you never see men on Mother's Day.
Yeah, they don't celebrate Mother's Day.
No, I've had people send me stuff, and Happy Mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's like, I appreciate, and I would tell them I appreciate that, but my children have a mother. But this is where, so if we look at LGBTQ and all this other trans and all this other stuff, if we're so worried about gender, why aren't we worried about gender when it comes to parenting?
Right.
Like, why don't? This is why I celebrate Parents' Day. I don't like Mother's Day. I don't like Father's Day, because really, I think my thing is, you're either a parent or you're not.
Yeah.
Of whatever gender. And to your point, like saying that they have to take on a role, like of the father. I guess there is a traditional role, but does that role kind of, it feels like that's kind of being watered away with stay-at-home dads and things like that. There's a bunch of stuff that I did that would have never been what my dad did or my grandpa did, or things like that.
Yeah.
Changing diapers, or cooking and all that other stuff. But so what do people get wrong the most? What do you come across that is the I guess maybe the biggest stereotype for single mothers or single women with children.
Based stereotype.
Yeah. Are you gold diggers? Are you easy? Are you desperate? Are you jaded? Like,
Oh.
you know what I mean?
Um. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I guess people that I grew up around or with, there wasn't really any of that.
Right.
I mean, being in a small town, I mean, yes, there wasn't very many single moms.
Why?
Um,
Why is that?
because everybody was married. Like,
Was it that they
everybody.
were married, happily married, or did you understand that you stuck out your vows?
Well, so two. You stuck out your vows, and two, happily married.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a bunch of people in the community that were happily married, and even if they did fight, they didn't show it in front of anybody.
Right.
Like
Right.
it was,
Right.
you kept it in your household. That was your business. It wasn't everybody else's.
Right. Right. Yeah. So it's almost like small towns are what society was 30, 40 years ago, which there's a lot of value to that. Um,
But yeah, if you have a disagreement or something happens, you don't just leave. You stick it out. You work through it.
well, so, I mean, we've listened to enough content where 80% of women are initiating divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can they be mad if that's the case? If they're Even if they're not married, if they're just leaving their circumstance, if it's 80% of women that are leaving their circumstance, why would they be mad and celebrate? Do you know what I mean?
Well, they shouldn't.
You would almost it seems like it should be the opposite. Like, you
Yeah.
would want nothing to do with Father's Day, much less trying to claim somebody else's square. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's, I don't know. Like, it's why, yeah, if you're leaving it, you should be happier.
Mm-hmm.
But why the jadedness then?
Honestly, I have no idea. Like, to me, that whole concept is just odd. Like, I would never celebrate Father's Day.
I mean, you celebrate it for, like, your father or your
Well,
grandfather
yeah.
or men that raised you, but
But as far as, like, me, myself, celebrating Father's Day, like, I wouldn't do that for myself.
right, right. No, yeah, absolutely. Well, for men, I think the biggest stereotype, maybe not even stereotype is the word, but maybe expectation or whatever, is probably for people who didn't know me, because everybody who knew me knew, like, I always had a kid under me. So I think it's that you're probably not active in your kids' lives. I think that that's, if I had to really, like, look hard at it, um, but people ask now more, like, I think that it's a kinder way, like, do you see your kids a lot and stuff like that? And I'm like, yeah, every day. So I think it's kind of a roundabout way of kind of feeling out what kind of father, I am. But I think that that's probably the biggest one, that you're not necessarily prevalent on a day in, day out basis.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just being a man, or if that even bleeds into the black demographic as well. That, because now you have the whole black men don't take care of their kids and blah blah blah. So there's a few layers to it. But yeah, if I had to pick one, I would say that was probably it. So I'll flip that then. What I guess, what's your biggest experience, or what has been your experience with men who had kids who weren't, like, even not in a dating sense? What did you see the most out of them? Like, if you had to assign a type or a character to these men, what would you assign to it?
Like, as far as if they were by themselves, or
Even co-parenting, because I'm a co-parent. I've done everything except married parenting. I did complete single, while the mother was gone, things like that, and then co-parenting, and then in-house kind of single cohabitation parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done all those, everything but just being a married person. But yeah, so I guess what I'm looking at is, did you see men who were less involved, who were more involved, guys who, and the flip, there's a lot of guys that are very jaded because they don't get to see their kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they also are paying, you know,
Way more than they should.
a king's ransom in child support. So yeah, is there anything that you saw that you're like, wow, that's an interesting takeaway from that demographic?
I mean, I've seen men who were fully involved in their children's lives, but they also got along with, the mothers. But then I've also seen to where there was men who wanted to be in their children's lives, but the mother wouldn't let them.
Right. Right.
So it wasn't. I haven't seen. Well, I mean, I've kind of experienced some of that as far as with my daughter. Her father didn't want to be a father at such a young age. So, like, at first he didn't want to be involved, but as she got older, then he wanted to be in her life more.
Okay.
Which they have their own relationship. Like, I never forced anything on her as far as, oh, you have to go be with your dad. No, you can't be with your dad. I just kind of let their relationship work on its own.
Right.
You didn't have to put that in the glass.
I know, but I wanted to pour it for the sound effects.
Okay.
No, otherwise I'm just gonna let you drink out of the bottle. Yeah. Well, yeah. So you're doing it the right way. You're allowing it to be organic between them,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's a healthy space for them to be able to grow. But
because the situation between him and I did not want bad relationship between them. I mean, if for some reason she didn't want him in her life, then that would be her choice, not mine.
mm-hmm. So that's another one that I've seen personally influencing children. Are you hot? Do you want me to turn the air on?
I'm a little.
You're hot.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Have you seen that?
Yes and no. I mean, not. I would say no for the majority of what I've seen.
So no sort of manipulation or of the children.
No. No, I mean, I know my aunt and my uncle kind of went through something difficult, but they didn't fight over the kids. I mean, they went to court and they did it through custody, but I think the thing was one of my cousins didn't want to have anything to do with my uncle, and I think that hurt him.
In court, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Was that because of what happened with the uncle and that child, or was that part of like the mother's influence?
I think it was my aunt's influence, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the I guess I don't want to call it a tactic, but it is a strategy in court. It's called parental alienation.
Okay.
And I think it was first introduced maybe like in the 50s or something like that, but it was where women would come into court and basically make claims that weren't necessarily true,
Mm-hmm.
but it was to garner favor from the court. So things like abuse or neglect, and now you're not even talking about facts, you're talking about feelings.
Yeah.
And that's where some of the content we've seen like differentiates, like let's work in factual things rather than how something made you feel, because if you're oversensitive, then it may not necessarily be as damning as it's made out to be. Now, it doesn't mean you have to discount people's feelings, but when something like custody or payments, children's rearing is on the line, I think you have to be more in line with truths rather than feelings. So
Yeah, because I know, like, after everything was final, so I don't know if she may have said something to him or not, because once everything was final, he went to her house and then had nothing to do with the rest of us anymore. Like, the entire family. He never talked to us. He never came to gatherings or anything. But my other cousin did. So, like,
the one cousin never.
Yeah, so there was two children. So one of them, he still comes and sees us and participates in all kinds of stuff and, you know, does stuff with the family. And then the other one, we haven't heard from since.
Man, yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, that's definitely unfortunate. So why do women have children out of wedlock? Like, what is the thought process? So, like, if you could look back and, you know, you hear the term,
I have.
right?
Yeah.
Well, so did I, but
Yeah.
I mean, but if when you hear the term, like, something like "marry before you carry," does that resonate more now?
Yes, it does.
So is it something you like? I mean, you don't want to, like, wish you didn't have your kids.
Well, no. I wouldn't take that back for anything.
But would you prefer to have been married to have had them?
Yes, I would have.
Fair enough. But so then, what are women doing?
Okay, well, just my personal experience.
Right.
First one, birth control did not work.
Okay.
And there was no option for me as far as giving away, terminating. Like, no, that was not an option for me.
Because of your upbringing?
Yes.
Okay.
But, I mean, I personally, I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that at all. And then the second one, he took on my daughter like his own. And then, so we had talked about it, and he said if we didn't get pregnant, he would be okay with that. Because he didn't have any children of his own. So, if it happened, he's happy. If it didn't happen, he would still be happy because he thought of my daughter as his own.
Okay.
And then it just happened. So it's not like we planned it.
I mean...
But see, I know. No, but see, I thought because we were together 14 some years that I thought it was forever.
Right. I mean...
And we were married. We just didn't have that legal paper.
I mean, yeah, but it sucks because actually you're not, you know.
Well,
and
yeah.
I went through the same thing. Like, you're not at the end of it all. Because how you split is the difference.
Yeah.
So if you work something out that's awesome, that's great. But yeah, so is that the mindset for a lot of women? They're seeing forever when they really should be seeing their next step.
Possibly. I mean, I know I saw forever, and it just didn't work out that way.
But he had said he didn't want to get married, right? Or he said he did want to get married.
He wanted to get married, he just didn't want to have a wedding. That was his thing.
That was you guys' hang up?
Somewhat, yes. Because we talked about this in a previous video. Like, I wanted the experience.
Right.
He wanted to go to the courthouse.
I mean...
To me, that just... I don't know. I guess because of what I was raised around, what I was... raised with my grandparents who were married 52 years. I mean, that's what I wanted.
I mean, but you would have had the 52 years. You just didn't have the ceremony to.
I just wanted all the experiences.
But did your grandma have babies before she got married?
No.
Well, so you guys were already not on the same level, anyways. Like.
But they got married like right away, actually.
Yeah, because dating is like it's a more modern kind of thing. It wasn't like you got married quickly because it was more of a necessity that you would find somebody and then you would start your family, and a lot of times you had large families. if there was agriculture involved, so
Yeah.
you needed people to, run, and with higher death rates, I'm sure, infant death rates, you had more kids just to ensure that
Well,
you had a
yeah.
family at the end of it all. So there's a lot of reason to it. I'm just wondering, why women do the I don't want to call it the unforgivable, but we know now it doesn't work out well.
I mean, I don't, as far as other women, like, I don't know if because it could be multiple reasons. It could be, obviously, birth control didn't work. Maybe they just weren't protecting themselves as much as they should have. I unfortunately know a woman who does not care. If she gets pregnant, she gets pregnant, and
How many kids does she have?
right, she has 4,
Okay.
but she's been pregnant more than that.
Sure.
So I'm like, at that point, I'm just like, you need to close your legs or something, like, get fixed, or I don't know.
So how many fathers of those 4 kids is she? 4 for 4?
No, 3 for 4.
3 for 4, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that, but okay, outside of a strong conviction for a certain ethical, way of believing or living and things like that, then if you're that strong in it, wouldn't preserving your chastity been a part of it?
Well, after my first one, I'm like
not even your first
not...
kid. I'm just talking about if you're living in a certain way. Wouldn't you just be waiting for marriage to begin with? What are you doing sneaking out?
Yeah.
So what are women doing?
I don't know.
You're
just gearing it up.
You're the ambassador. I gotta shake you down now. I mean, it's all fun, but it's just it's an epidemic because there's, I don't have it off the top of my head how many million single parent homes there are, but it's like 80% of them are single mothers. And of course the pushback is, well, how come the fathers aren't involved? Well, if women are leaving and men are completely screwed in court, then a lot of the notion of the deadbeat, I don't know. I'd have to see more stats on men just refusing to pay. Is it they're refusing to pay or they can't pay? Because I know, in my own instance, I was paying, but if all my other bills and things weren't in a very manageable way, I'd have been done. I'd have been, living behind Filiberto's or something, just waiting for food to be thrown out, because the courts don't care. Because reason being, my estimation is, if they can't get it from you, then they have to pay it.
Yeah.
So they're going to make sure that they nail somebody down, and that's probably why there's the threat of jail. But I mean, I can't. With that, can you really blame some men for running? You know what I mean? It's a scary thought.
I don't.
So I'm going to either be broke or I'm going to be incarcerated. So my best bet is to hop, skip, and jump from job to job until they catch up with me. Leave that job, go to another. That's a really crappy way to exist. Not only for the man, but for the woman who needs the help, and for the kids who it's their birthright to have both their parents. But
what's really bad too is, the guys get screwed, because I've seen a man who was in his children's life, was more than enough help, and the mother was very unfit, she still won.
Right. You really have to have some sort of strong case, especially in states where it's custody is immediately awarded to the women, which is why it's the whole, okay, did we talk about this before? My feeling on paternity testing being mandatory. What did you say?
I said I wasn't against it.
No.
No.
So if you were in there, you're with your guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he was asking like, would it be offensive if he asked you?
No, not at all.
No. Then why is it such a big deal? Like why is that offensive to women? Because I've looked in some chats. I've seen a few things on this topic, and women were just losing their collective minds over it.
I mean, if the woman physically knows that is the father of her children, she shouldn't have a problem with it. There shouldn't be anything to hide.
So do you think is that just ego, or is that them hiding the fact that it may not be like?
I think it's hiding.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, knowing what did we say, out of men who took paternity tests, 30% did not know that the child wasn't there. It wasn't there. So just imagine if every guy right now, if you just tested all children versus their fathers, what that percentage would be. You know what I mean? What's that percentage?
That's a scary thought.
It really is. But could you imagine the shift in what it would like? We're already behind in the government just from handing out free COVID money.
Yeah. I mean, what does that say about women in general?
Well, we know that men and women cheat it's a 4% differential. So that's reported. So somebody I know would say, well, I'm sure men lie about it, about that number. Well, then that would mean women are just as capable of lying too. So if your infidelity rate is close to the same, then yeah, there's a good chance that I think that number shoots up. I think it probably doubles.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I definitely think that it doubles.
I mean, that's sad to think.
Yeah. So, if we're in this society, like for you, there's a lot of people who I'm still going to hold your feet to the fire that, you're sneaking out of the house and getting pregnant. Like, come on, what are we doing? And how old were you?
I was 19.
Well, see, okay. So you're an adult, but
yeah.
you're still a baby.
I never, growing up, yes, I saw certain things in everybody and the way I grew up. I didn't want to wait for marriage.
To have sex?
To have sex.
Why? Was that like your raising? Like, were you suppressed?
No, I wasn't suppressed.
Did you grow up in a religious?
No.
Okay.
So my grandparents, my grandma's side of the family is Catholic. My grandpa's side of the family is Baptist. So I grew up around both. Obviously, when we were around my grandmother's side of the family, they are very religious.
Okay.
Just because of their family, their background.
Is that the Baptist?
No, Catholic.
Catholic?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're very religious. So obviously, when we were around them, we went to church.
Okay.
You got dressed up, you went to church. But my grandpa's side of the family, they did too. He had 3 sisters, and I think 2 of them were religious and they went to church, and then the other one was not.
Okay.
But growing up at Grandma and Grandpa's house, there wasn't any churches around us. We had to actually go into Payson or go into Heber, to actually go to church if we wanted to go.
Right.
Which we did for a while, but then it kind of got too much going, driving out of town. And
yeah, how long of a trip is that?
Heber was 15 minutes and Payson was 30.
Okay.
So they had a little community church, but it's not something that Grandma wanted to go to.
Got it.
She wanted to actually go to church.
Go to mass.
Yeah, go to mass, and yeah, because we did midnight mass, and we did different things.
Okay.
But once Grandma passed, we never went to church anymore.
Of course not.
No.
Of course not.
Grandma was kind of the glue.
We've heard this before. When Big Mama died.
Yeah.
This is so.
Grandma was the glue.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
So you had some religious influence.
Yeah, I was never baptized. So I mean, I just had what I seen when we went to church,
Right.
and then growing up when I went to school in Heber, their Heber is mostly Mormon. So I had a lot of Mormon friends, which they invited me to church, and I gladly went.
Mm-hmm.
But they never pushed it on me.
Right.
So I mean, I kind of got the views of 3 different
Right.
religions.
So, when did you get it in your head that you were just going to be a heathen and decide to premarital, like you're just...
I don't know. I just that thought to me. I was like, that didn't bother me. I guess.
So did you never think, like, when you're thinking about that, it sounds like you weren't thinking about like necessarily being married either then.
I wanted to be married.
But at that age, that young?
Not at that age.
That's
no.
it. See, now
No,
we're getting...
not,
See,
not at that age.
see, this is why I have to ask.
Well, getting pregnant that early too was
Yeah.
kind of a shock. Because with my daughter, I did not find out until I was 5 months pregnant.
Okay.
So that was a huge shock for me.
Was her father your first?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Don't look at me like that.
I'm just asking questions here. I'm just asking questions. All right. So, but okay. So you have your convictions. You have your reasons as to why, and that's perfectly admirable. But then there's a whole bunch of women who don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But then they don't take advantage of the 33 forms of birth control. What are we doing?
Yeah, there are multiple ways to not get pregnant.
Right. But you're going to trust it. Like, men can't be trash and dumb, but then you're holding them accountable for getting you pregnant. Mm-hmm. Like, well, what about the guy having a condom? Well, if men are dumb, men are this, that, and the other, why would you trust them? Mm-hmm. It's like if I said, like, women are shitty drivers, but then I'm willing to hop in shotgun, I have to be, I have to be accountable. Right. I'm accountable for what happens to me. So, why?
I mean, I don't know if it's just laziness. Because, like, now, like you said, there are multiple ways of birth control.
Right. I mean, we've heard the statement, no child is born in this country, I would even say the Western world, that doesn't want to be born. Mm-hmm. So, is that, again, is it seeking the adulation of saying you're a strong, single woman, mother? Like, is it just selfishness? Is there ego at the end of all this?
I'm sure there's ego in there somewhere.
I mean, you can't just not, like, what, to your point with that woman earlier, you can't just not care, like, who impregnates you. Like, how does that work? What is the mindset? Because I'm not a woman, so I think the opposite, but I feel like a lot of women are trying to think like men and act like men, and men are...
They can just do who they want when they want.
Right. And just to, create life like that. But it's different with men. Men can do that from adolescence to the grave. Mm-hmm. At some point, women can't do that anymore. And women, honestly, I don't think are built that way. Biologically, you shouldn't be built that way to entertain multiple, hosts, I guess, for lack of a better word. You shouldn't be entertaining that. But maybe that's just a projection or a judgment on my part to say you shouldn't. But it just doesn't seem like that's the natural norm.
I mean, women who do that, I think there's something emotionally going on with them to be able just to do that.
Well, if you have high levels of promiscuity, I guess you could, if you're just holding them accountable for that, like if they're just a straight, in the city girl mode, 304 and all that stuff, then there's still something beneath it all. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it, I'm sure you can trace back to like childhood traumas and things
Yeah.
like that. So I try to give some grace where that's concerned to understand like people don't always just like wake up and just decide I'm going to sleep with, a bunch of men. Like I saw some content the other day. This woman was 23 and already had 100 bodies.
Oh God.
Like she's got to have issues, right?
I would think so.
And even if she doesn't, let's just say say it's you. Say you're just raised in a normal way. There's no trauma as far as sexual or any sort of abuses or anything else. If that's just the lane that you pick, okay, that's fine. But how in the world are you going to bond with anybody? Like you can't, like at that point your ability to pair bond is almost broken.
Yeah, and I couldn't imagine if that many people, like, they were all just one night stands.
Right.
Like there's got to be some
At
frequent.
23, yeah, she did maybe one or two relationships. Think about by the time you were 23, how many serious, maybe more than a year relationships did you have?
Maybe one.
Right.
Like.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, at that age.
And let's not even count high school. Let's say from
Yeah.
18 to 23 in a 5-year period, how many serious relationships could you really have? 2 at the most, and that would almost have to be them back to back.
Yeah.
To say 2 years, maybe a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's cruising, and she didn't seem to mind.
Yeah, there couldn't be any connection with any of them.
No, and she didn't act like she was trying to have any connection with any of them. It just seemed like it was more like it was very YOLO-ish, like, well, you're gonna live once. Why shouldn't I be able to enjoy my life? Why shouldn't I be able to, do X, Y, and Z? And
Yeah.
I like to travel and I like to meet new people and things, which all of that is good, but it doesn't mean you have to sleep with all of them. And again, there's a part of that I think it's the warped mindset. Like the more masculine women become, it's unappealing, just like the way guys seem to get more feminine in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
The younger ones, so it's like they're almost like swapping, their roles, which is fine. I guess everybody's entitled to be themselves, but at some point, shouldn't we have like at least an anchor in normalcy?
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, it just seems like everything goes.
Yeah.
So you can identify as anything, you can be anything, and it's to be celebrated or accepted. And I think that there's something that's a little misleading about that, because at some point, where are you anchored? Because if you can just decide you one day you want to be a woman, the next day you want to be man, the next day you want to be black, and the next day you want to be, I don't know, Buddhist or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can identify with all these things, but then who is that person at the end of it?
Yeah.
All like you just are floating from thing to thing, and I don't think that there's any foundation. Like you couldn't build a house that way.
No.
Like we're just gonna put, a kitchen one day, and then put in the east wing and this and that, and you're just building sticks and hammering wood together.
Yeah.
And let's bring in the drywall. Oh, wait a minute, we didn't put down a cement slab. Where's all this gonna go?
But not only like if somebody's going through something emotional, like what about like physically?
Mm-hmm.
Being with that many multiple partners.
Yes.
Like, okay, men are not all the same.
As far as what?
Like
Endowment?
yeah. And
Right.
so, I mean, physically,
Right.
like that changes a woman.
Right. I could easily see it. Well, so there's body count,
Mm-hmm.
but then did I share with you about vagina miles?
No.
Okay, so
Vagina miles.
vagina mileage. This I came up
That's
with
great.
years ago. I came up with vagina miles because it's okay. So you could have, let's say you had 15 bodies,
Mm-hmm.
but they were all one night stands,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all about, I don't know, 2 to 5 minutes each.
Okay.
It's not a lot of wear.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have 5 bodies and these guys, even if they're not hung to the floor or whatever, but you're getting hours
Mm-hmm.
of usage on your body out of it,
Yeah.
those are vagina miles. So just think, the average man is what, just under 6 inches. So if you just take 5 in, 5 out, there's 10.
Yeah.
And you just keep multiplying that over time, you put on mileage.
And if
So,
you're with that person for years,
even if it's a one night stand and that guy just wears you out for 4 hours,
oh God,
in and out for hours, there's mileage.
Oh jeez,
There's mileage.
Yeah.
So it's not just the body itself, as in having sex with somebody. It's like the damage that's been done to you. Like it's like a rental car. You don't buy a rental car at the auction because you know what it's been through. You
get insurance.
Right. Somebody's put cigarettes out in the seat.
Or 10 donuts or something
exactly.
in it.
And everybody knows the horrors of like a rental car because it's not yours to keep. You're not trying to keep it. It's like it's very, very short time. It's why you can trash a hotel room. It's like why you don't blacklight a hotel room because those curtains.
I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah, those curtains are stained. So just imagine this woman is essentially making herself a rental car, and if she's of the mind that joke's on them because I did it to them, you're way off. Like, you're way off. I've never seen an antelope jump in a lion's mouth and say, you fooled you. You're going to eat me. But yeah, I made you eat me. It's still dead. It doesn't make sense. And I guess it's everybody's right to enjoy that, and go out and do that. So it's not a hard judgment, but there are just things that I look at and just kind of wonder, like, is this really how a lot of these people want to be living? Or is it the influence? Is it more of the influence of what we see on a daily basis? Like every time you log in or you're seeing somebody living their best life or you're hearing somebody telling you you can do whatever it is that you want. And that's a dangerous sentiment. Yeah, you can.
Well, just for women in general, like everybody talks about being the boss babe and I'm like, really?
Yeah, everybody's a boss. Everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody's this and that. And again, if you don't have employees that you're paying taxes on, that you have, an LLC, that you have, the government ID number and things like that, then you're not really a boss in that sense. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, keep working, keep grinding to do that. But again, it's a facade because then again, here we go. We got everybody showing you that they're living their best life, or that there's something that they're not. And we've seen it where you're on a rented boat and you're taking pictures like it's your boat, or there's the model that was on the plane, and she took pictures in the first class on her way to coach, and somebody recognized her in coach and took pictures and put her on blast like, no, geez. She wasn't. Yeah. And then come to find out there's in LA, it's like a hollowed out plane. It's just a part of the plane that you can go on and take pictures. Yes, you can do photo shoots on a piece of it looks like a private jet. And so, yeah, you can go for, I want to say it's like $100 an hour, and you can do like a whole photo shoot.
Oh, jeez.
Just to give the impression that that's what you're doing. That's a sad place to be. That's a sad state to be in.
Well, just people taking pictures in general of, like there's one guy with 10 girls around him, or one girl with 10 guys around it. Like, that's not their life, but that's what they portray.
Right.
On the internet.
Right. Now that one is interesting. So on dating sites, I don't know if you've ever been on any, but a lot of the women will give the impression. So I could scroll through, okay, she looks nice, so I look at, whatever. And if the average woman posts, I don't know, like 5 pictures, 4 of them, she's got an alcoholic beverage in her hand, and or she is someplace that you can clearly tell is abroad.
Like on vacation or something.
Right. Mm-hmm. This is not your average life.
No.
And if it is, what are you doing that's so wrong in your life that you can live that lifestyle, but you need it doesn't match.
Yeah.
That you can live a jet setter life, but you need an app to find a person.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't make sense.
No.
So I see that quite a bit. I see that actually more often than not. It's somebody with a drink in their hand. If it's not even traveling, it's always at a nice restaurant. It's,
mm-hmm.
And I think it's throwing out the expectation. This is what I want. I want to
mm-hmm.
be in these places all the time.
Yeah.
But the problem is, who took the picture of you most of the time?
Mm-hmm.
I think most guys are going to be thinking it's a dude.
It's probably another dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that trip to Belize.
You weren't by yourself.
Right. And if you were, that's okay too. But let's just say, I don't know, 35% of women can pay for their own. I'm still grouping you into the other 65% that you possibly slept your way to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I have to do that. It's like, I think it's a self-preservation measure to not get blindsided later.
Yeah.
To look at it and say, okay, I actually, hey, that's cool that you got there, but how, it's not that women can't earn that, but I think we still, I think a lot of people, we look at hypergamy. So if women are dating up, then a man who if it's a beautiful woman, she's going to get a man who's going to want to take her places. Mm-hmm. And so that's what that looks like. Even if she might have, all of the accolades to pay for the stuff herself. But mm-hmm. honestly, like, if you could find the guy that could pay for like your car payment, and you had a job, you're going to let him pay, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And, nothing wrong with that. You find the right connection, and that's a good thing. So you have no insider information on what women are doing.
I don't. I guess I'm just not around that kind of people.
But you're around you.
Well,
and you're a woman all the time. You know what women think. I don't know how many times I've had to drag stuff out of you 2 or 3 days later. So why the secrecy? Why? There's ego in that, isn't there?
No.
There's ego in that.
Like, honestly, like, I don't know why other women do all that. Because I don't think that way. And I don't see, like, the people that I'm around, I don't see that.
Okay. Well, you said, but you did, most of your friends are married?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that helps or hinders you in where you're in your station of life? Like, do you want to be married?
Yeah. I want to be married.
You say that like, yeah, I'll have...
No, I do. I really do.
I'll have the Oreo blizzard. Yeah.
No, I really do.
Okay. I mean, but just being around married women, and you've told me some stories about a couple of your friends.
Well, not all of them.
Is that helping you?
No, not all of them are perfect. No.
They don't need to be perfect.
Well, I see what they do and how they act, and I just want to smack them. I really do.
So does that help you in any way to see? Like, I'm guessing you wouldn't act that way anyways.
No, I wouldn't act that way.
But then what does that do for you to see them acting that way? Like, I mean, if you wouldn't act that way to begin with, then how is their presence helping you?
Their presence is not... Well, I mean, I guess it helps in a way that I know I don't want to act that way, mm-hmm. and I don't want to do the things that they do,
mm-hmm.
or how they treat their husbands. Because, well, I mean, like, I wouldn't treat like a man's how they treat them. Yeah, that's just ridiculous on some things that they do. But, and it's funny because you can say it to them and they don't listen.
They don't listen to you?
They don't listen to me.
Because what chance does their
pointed
husband
stuff
have?
out, and it's not like they don't see it. But I mean, as far as like, so that would be just one reason why it would help me is just knowing that I don't act that way.
Right.
But as far as like an influence on marriage wise, like no, they're not helping me because they don't have a good marriage.
So why hang around people who don't like elevate you? Like, I mean, it's up to you to elevate yourself, but still. Okay, but you pointed out a couple that we've talked before.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? How does that enhance you? Because you're gonna find a man at some point, and he's gonna look at these friends and be like, "The fuck is this?" And birds of a feather, and that first picnic, and a cookout or whatever, and he sees your friend whiling on her husband. He's gonna look at you
like,
and wonder,
right?
Is this in you? If I slide a ring on it,
yeah, I can see that.
So why? Like, what value is this friend bringing?
Not a lot.
What are we doing?
She's my friend.
She's your friend. Okay.
She's my friend.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I have to act like them or be around them at all times.
Right. Okay. But if you met a guy and you go to the cookout and like they're like just doing something that just like you're like okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? You're gonna loop him into that. Like, who are these people and why are you hanging around them? And if he tells you they're my friends, is that a viable answer for real?
No.
I'm just asking questions.
I know, you're just asking questions. But I get the looks from you.
Yeah, because I know you to be a very intelligent person. So what are we doing? Like what?
But see, on the other hand, I could show.
No,
here we go. Don't start with that.
Denial, the deflection. Go ahead.
No, but then I could show what a relationship is really supposed to look like.
How?
And how you treat a man.
How?
With respect.
No, how are you going to show him that though?
Not being an ass like they are.
Okay. Yeah.
Being respectful, talking polite, like not putting them down.
At some point, if it was me, I'd be like, you gotta break from that. Because I'm going to inherently feel like that influence is going to be overtaking. And more importantly, say you never act like that. How many times are we going to talk about that? How many times do I have to come home and hear about some shit that I don't want to hear about
my friend.
About some people that I don't care about some people that I probably told you, Crystal, stop playing with her. So, again,
if it came down to it where if the person I was with did not like my friends because of the way they're...
I don't believe that.
No, I have left friends because of certain things.
I think it has to be pretty extensive, and I think it has to hit your moral code wrong, not the person that you're with.
Not necessarily, because, well, no, like I told you, like, I get along with guys better than I do with girls.
You have a bunch of guy friends?
I do.
That's a problem.
Oh, no, well, listen, hold on.
That's a problem.
Hold on.
I'm just letting you know.
Well, I know that's a problem.
You're going to tell me hold on, but that guy's not going to.
No, what I was going to say is my recent ex, I got rid of 3 of my friends because he did not like them.
It's not even... Okay, go ahead.
No, and I was okay with that because he did not want to be around that, and he didn't want me to be around that. And I said, okay.
Yeah, because most of them are waiting to smash.
I've never slept with any of my guy friends.
I didn't say you did. I said they were waiting to smash.
I know, well, guys are guys.
Right. So why are you playing in the gator pond when those eyes are just peering above the water? You know what's coming. You know what's coming. You can't, like, rub fish oil on yourself and go swimming in a pond. The gators are coming. So the longer you hang around them...
There's not many of them that I talk to anymore. And I've actually gotten rid of some of them and gotten rid of phone numbers. Like, I went through my phone, I don't know, a while ago and deleted a bunch of people.
What does your DMs look like?
My DM, I like slim to none.
Slim to none, but there's still some.
But they're not. They're not anything.
Who's judging that?
I guess I am.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's not. It's everything. Like a guy's gonna look at that and be like, "Who's this?" Like, oh, he's just a friend. Really? Okay.
I think. Oh no! Like in my phone right now, I think I maybe have 2 guys.
Okay.
That are still in my phone.
Who are they?
One of them was a guy I used to work with long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we just got along really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and hung out and stuff. And then, he moved, I think, Washington, I think he lives in now, with his wife. And then one of them, the other one is, I told you, he's like my brother. We grew up together. We went to school together. He was always there for me.
Okay, yeah.
Always had my back.
Okay. So is he a non-negotiable? Like, you're not gonna break
Him, no. Like, he's like someone that if I literally have no girlfriends to talk to, or if I have, like when I went through when Mom passed away, and so like he was my person.
Right. How old were you when your mom passed?
24.
24. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think did I ask you about that? Did she teach you to be a wife?
You asked me if my mom and my grandma taught me, and I said no. But it's what I saw growing up.
Okay.
Just it was more my grandma than my mom, because my mom and my dad weren't together for very long.
Okay.
And we lived with my grandparents for a long time.
Okay.
So it was mainly the influence of my grandparents that I was around.
Okay, so you said that like if you had a guy and you're around your crazy girlfriends, that you would show him differently. If you weren't raised that way or taught that way, then how would you know?
I don't think you would.
So then shouldn't you get rid of like what you know to be a detriment to your curve of...
If I was just going by the influence of my friends or what I saw of my friends, yes, then I would get rid of them.
So where are you waiting?
Because they're my friends.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
I'm just asking questions.
I have a very small circle of friends.
Right, but I've heard at least, what, 2 of them?
Just 2, yeah.
2 of how many?
I've
heard of 2 that were...
Yeah, just 2.
Of how many, though? Like
of how many are that way?
Like, what, 4 or 5 of your tight circle?
Like 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
So you're looking at, what?
Just the 2 of them.
30%? 30% of your circle is toxic.
Yeah.
Towards men.
Yes.
Which you need or want, right?
Yes.
So what are we... I'm just asking questions here.
I know, you're just asking
I'm just asking questions.
You're making me rethink my whole life here.
I'm just asking questions. All right, I'll leave it alone.
I just know I don't act that way.
You don't have the opportunity to, though. Without a man,
no.
You're not really pressed to know how you're going to act.
But I'm just going by previous, like my ex. Like, I didn't treat him.
How long have you guys been broken up?
Almost.
A couple of years?
2.5, almost 3, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good indicator that, and I find you to be, on the level, like a very pleasant person. But I've also seen you have your moments.
I have my moments, yes.
Right. So, is that where...
Did I just finish that?
I know, you finished the bottle.
Damn.
I know, so did I. So...
I have my moments, yes.
Right.
Okay, well, because you've seen some of my moments, am I horrible?
It's not about being horrible, but again, if you're not normally that way and then you're that way, yes, everybody can have their moments, but then I might start questioning like your circle. I might start like, well, okay, you're acting this way, and we just saw what's her name acting that way at the, I
Yeah.
don't know, who's the country guy concert. You guys all go to a concert, and she
Well, the
has
one I just went
one
to,
too many Budweisers, and now,
George Strait.
yeah, yeah, she slaps that Stetson off of his head or something. Don't spit wine on my couch.
I'm not gonna spit
All
wine.
right. Um, I'm just saying. Just asking. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, but I'm getting the judgy looks.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned for you. That's all I'm saying. You need a man, or you want a man. I shouldn't say you need one. Don't need no man, but
I have never said that I don't need one.
but you never said that you do need one either.
In some aspects of my life, yes, I do need one.
For what? What do you need a man for? There we
go.
go.
Oh God! Now you're really putting me
go.
on the spot. What do I need a man for?
Yeah.
Protection.
Okay. But you could get a gun and a dog. You have a dog.
Which I have. Both
Okay,
of those.
there you go.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I want to be completely by myself.
Okay, I'm just asking questions again. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, I may be able to do it, but that doesn't mean I don't want a man to do it for me.
Why don't you just hire a security guard?
Sure. That's what my dog is for.
But
that's
you
my security guard.
You said you didn't want to do it yourself, so I'm just giving you, like, scenarios. So, okay, so you could get a security guard, so what else would you need a man for, or want a man for?
Security.
As in what? Financial?
Yeah. I mean, not just that. I mean, because it's not all about, like, to me, finances is not the biggest thing.
Well, yeah,
it's not.
I think your upbringing, and you're a pretty grounded person. So I'm not saying like you're in a gold digging sense, but I would think that it would be just part of like your nature to seek somebody who can have resources and provisions to provide.
I mean, I could see that, yeah. I mean, I guess just watching my grandparents.
Why, they struggle?
No, I mean...
or he was always doing something.
He was always doing something.
Right.
He was the provider.
Okay.
I mean, my grandma did work for a little bit, but she didn't have to.
Right. So that's where you want to be. You don't have to work.
I don't have to.
Right. Right.
I like to. I like to work. I think it's just because it keeps me busy. Like, I like to stay busy. And I don't like to be stuck in a house 24/7.
Well, I mean, isn't that part of the misnomer as well, that if a woman is not working and the man's taking care of everything, that she's stuck in the house? I've never heard of a woman like chained to an oven.
Well, no.
But that's part of like what a lot of the sentiment is now. Like, I've heard it, stay-at-home housewife being compared to slavery, which is insane. Like,
I don't see that.
Yeah, no, I don't see it at all either. And actually, it's quite the opposite. Like, you're very liberated to do a multitude of things.
Yeah.
Like, okay, go take courses. Go take classes doing something. I'm assuming that as long as the household duties are met,
mm-hmm.
and not just in a cooking and cleaning. It might be like, okay, I'm out here working, doing X, Y, and Z. You take care of making sure all the bills are paid,
mm-hmm.
or things like that. So it doesn't just boil down to feeling like the maid and the cook or something, and the nanny or something like that. But I would think that once your kids hit kindergarten too, then you have the ability again. You could volunteer for stuff. You could do a lot of different things and have different pursuits, even if it wasn't work.
Yeah. Well, and even if you just want to do something part-time.
That too.
Just during school hours.
That too. Absolutely. But I would imagine that it would need to be something where it's very, it's something you can drop easily if you had to. Like if one of your kids got sick, look, I just can't come into work, and
Yeah.
if you got to fire me, so be it. You know.
Well, that's one of the things, because in between my last job and then, well, I guess you could say my last job was where I just previously worked.
Right.
But the job before that, I took a year off. And it was really nice whenever my kids were sick, I didn't have to call out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could just stay home and take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone had appointments, if myself, my children, whatever, like, I could take you to your appointments. I could take care of myself, like, and I wouldn't have to schedule PTO off or, you know, so that was really nice, being able to take care of things during the day.
Right.
That you necessarily can't when you're working.
Was that when you were with your youngest, you and your son's father?
Yes. For a little while. Because, let's see, because I worked, it was almost 2 years, and then, so it was actually kind of in between when me and him were together and not together.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we had just ended, like, officially when I started working with you.
Okay.
I think because it was new.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, yeah. So I think, well, during the time that I was off for a year, we were, even if we were still kind of together, like we weren't together, because I told you, like, towards the last couple of years of, like, the ending of it, right. We weren't really, platonic. Yeah, we weren't really together anyways, even though we were in the same house. I mean, we were just roommates.
Right.
Like, so it's not like we were together. We just lived together.
Okay. Okay. So, as far as your pursuits now, what are you doing to shake off the single woman?
Honestly, nothing.
Is that just because you're good where you're at, or don't know where to start, don't care to start? I mean,
I'm good where I'm at. Like, I'm okay being alone. I think I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like I miss somebody in the house or I need somebody in the house. So I'm, like, at that point where I'm finally okay with that situation. But it's not that I don't want.
Okay. So if you want something, though, like if you wanted a job or you wanted your car or you wanted these things, like, you do what?
You find it. You pursue it.
Right. So if you want those things, then, and you're doing nothing about it, then how do you get the result that you want without the work?
You don't. Because I don't go on dating sites. Like, I've never done that. I've always met people in person.
Right. So are you putting yourself in positions to meet people?
Sort of. It's not, like, on a consistent basis.
Is that like going out with your friends and stuff like that?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Not very good. I've met people, or my friends hook me up with people, or they're like, oh, go on a date with this person. And I'm just like, all right. It's not that I want to, but I do.
Out of obligation to them?
I'm all for meeting new people.
Right.
It's not that I want to be a hermit or anything.
Right. So are your married friends giving you any advice? Like, I guess if we look in a relationship status, like being married is, for women, it's kind of like you made it. You know, you're out of the cesspool. You know, you don't have to worry about.
They've never said really anything to me because, they knew me when I was with my ex versus, like, and they know me now. So it's not like it's not like they're trying to push, I guess, married life on me.
Right, but
Because
are they giving you any like structural advice, like anything that's going to help you?
No, I haven't.
Do you ever ask them, or do you not trust their?
Sometimes I don't trust their opinion.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back.
You're like, why are you friends with them?
I mean, yeah. Um, There's a, I know you wouldn't know about it, but there's a guy in a battle rap one time, and he said, do you know why I'm always around people doing better than me? And basically the answer is because they're doing better than me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, don't be, not being the smartest person in the room. What are you going to learn?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're not if they're not giving you anything that's going to help you get to their status, it'd be like having a bunch of rich friends who knew how to help you invest better but just weren't.
Mm-hmm.
Are they, I mean, what value are they bringing?
They don't.
I'm just asking questions here. Just a guy with the phone. Well, I mean, it's something to think about, and I mean, it's just good conversation. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, keep your friends or whatever, but um, at some point, I guess, if for anybody who's trying to shake that single label, um, yeah, there's gonna have to come a point, but your son is young too, so
Yeah.
does that play a part in it? Or would you be good with bringing? I mean, because his father's around, so
Yeah.
it's not like you necessarily would need somebody to kind of fill a position, to help
Mm-hmm.
rear him. But I'm sure you also want a quality person as well because he's going to be around him at some point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not afraid to introduce him to anybody, but I wouldn't probably do it right off the bat.
Right.
I was a little hesitant with my daughter when I first met my ex.
Your son's father.
Yeah, my son's father. I was a little hesitant. I didn't know. I guess just it being I was younger and then being kind of new at that. Like I didn't know how to introduce her to somebody else.
Right.
Because I think we had gone out 4 or 5 times before I even introduced him. He knew of her, like right off the bat. Like I told him, like I didn't hide it or anything. Um, but it was a little different.
How so?
Um, and I maybe it was just because like her being a girl and introducing her to another male figure. But it wasn't something that we like, oh, we went to the movies all together or something. Like I just made dinner and he came over to the house and like I introduced him as mama's friend and it just she didn't seem scared or anything.
Oh, is she 5?
Yeah, I think she was 5.
It's a good age.
And he didn't like try. He just kind of let her get to know him, I guess.
Right.
So I think he was a little hesitant as well. Meeting her and then her meeting him, and so.
Yeah.
But it was fine. They got along really well.
Well, you also had the kind of like I feel like there's probably more advantage to that scenario than to your scenario now because at least it was just you and your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't have your child's father, but it sounds like your ex, as far as your son's father, is pretty in your corner. So like, if you were dating, it was like, can you take him? It wouldn't be a problem.
No, it wouldn't
So
be a problem.
that's definitely a plus, because a lot of people, I think, a lot of women are chained to their prior relationship because
Mm-hmm.
one, they don't define borders with their children's fathers or their exes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a place I just don't go. So like, guy friends is one thing, but if you're still like close with your ex, I find that to be a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Because your ex is your ex for a reason, and
Yeah.
if not, then why aren't you guys back? Why aren't you guys together? Or
Mm-hmm.
is it just a matter of time that you figure it out? Like, oh, we could still be doing this.
Yeah.
So that's good that, yeah, you have that, but um, it still feels like you had a good place, as far as your daughter's father just deciding like to opt out and just
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I'm not going to do that. It opened the door for your son's father to kind of come in and be who he needed to be without it being dramatic,
Yeah.
especially since you guys were younger.
Mm-hmm. Well, the very first time the two of them met was not a good thing.
I think you told me about that. Was that?
That was at her kindergarten graduation.
Yes.
Because, so her father, um, he knew that I was dating somebody. He wasn't, I don't think he was too happy about that.
But he didn't want to be
Um,
with you, right? Or he didn't want
he did, well, he didn't, yeah, we weren't together, but I just think that the fact that I moved on and he
to.
didn't was an issue for him.
Sure.
And I wasn't going to ask my son's father to come. Like I really didn't want to. I didn't want to make him feel uncomfortable in any way. And he wasn't going to come, but she wanted all of us there.
Sure.
All of us around her. And myself and my son's father, we're like, it's all about her. It's not about all of us. It's about her and what she
That's
wants.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
her father didn't see it that way.
So what did he
And
want?
he didn't want him there. He was upset with me because I let him come. And I was like, I wasn't going to ask him to come. She asked him to come.
Right.
And I go with what the 5-year-old wants.
Right.
Not what you want.
Right. Especially if you're not a part of it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So yeah, he was a jackass the very first time that they met.
Yeah, I know how that goes. I know how that goes. So you guys are getting along better though now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think time is kind of one of those things, especially when you're young. But so are you raising your daughter to be a wife? Mm.
Mm.
Mm.